So, let's go over this. All right, start YouTube. Just start it now. Okay. All right, so here's the week 2 developer blog. A renewed interest and excitement for the support role because they finally worked on it. Improved queue times, improved survivability for support heroes, behind-the-scenes testing of Moira and Mercy, and thoughts around historical Shieldbreaker heroes are top of our mind of our team as we reflect on the second week of PvP beta. Cool. Supports. We've been monitoring the performance of all supports following last week's balance patch and improvements for Baptiste, adjustments for Ana, and the introduction of a montage-worthy new passive ability for Zen. Cool stuff. As often is the case, when we increase effective health for heroes, Zenyatta saw all-around improvements in performance over the weekend. No shit. Even with a higher pick rate, which doesn't matter, we saw our Resident Omnix Monk's win rate improve by 5%, putting him in a healthy, albeit slightly strong position. Alright, I am going to be the first one to say this. Win rate doesn't mean shit. Pick rate doesn't mean shit about balance. They can have some trends, maybe, but it's really fucking dumb to look at that for pretty much anything. There's just too many variables. There's way too many variables, right? If all of a sudden no one wanted to pick the heroes Junkrat's bad against, all of a sudden Junkrat's win rate would skyrocket. They're like, oh god, we bought a nerf Junkrat, and then that's not the case at all. Also, his win rate in the GM is probably dog shit, but then people only pick him when the maps he's good on. Therefore, he's not actually that good, because his numbers are inflated. Heroes should be good all the time on all maps, whenever possible. Like how all the good heroes are, right? Like the Echoes and the Tracers and all them. There's no bad time to play those heroes. Unless you're picking off meta, in which case, fuck you. You deserve not to win. Perhaps not as surprising, the additional 25 shield health resulted in a 7% reduction in his death rate, with a halo effect of 10% improvement in kills secured. Anecdotal feedback regarding his new passive, Snap Kick, indicates that the knockback is an effective way to line up kills more consistently. Yeah, it does a lot for him. I wish they would just do these passives for everyone more often. Really, just start adding shit everywhere. A decrease in duration of Ana's Banner Grenade netted a slight 2% decrease in her win rate. This is actually... This isn't true at all. Like, just because Ana's win rate went down doesn't mean it was because of the Bionic Grenade. Ana's win rate was 2% less this week than it was last week. If we look at the historical data, it probably just goes like this. So, doesn't fucking matter. However, the increased Bionic Rifle uptime ensured her overall healing output on average remained unchanged. Even with the adjustments, Ana remained a popular pick, with her usage rate staying the same. Again, this data doesn't mean bullshit. Queue times across the board have improved significantly since last week's patch. While correlation might not equal causation, we're optimistic that support improvements have a lot to do with it. Well, let's see here. Support was the bottleneck by like 10 minutes. It is now not the bottleneck by 10 minutes. Yes. Making supports fun to play, get this, guys, helps queues go faster because it was the longest role to queue for. Following the Thursday's update, players on average experienced 48% less time waiting for a match, gradually leveling off at a 22% improvement over the weekend. I know there's a bunch of hype around the support changes, and that's why everyone was playing, but a drop in queue time by 50% in Overwatch is like a 5-minute reduction in queue time. That is mind-boggling good. Like, this is what makes Overwatch not a good game for casual audiences. Why would I ever wait 5 to 10 minutes in queue for an Overwatch game when I can pick up Apex Legends and shoot someone right now? For both damage and support players, beta queue times are now faster than the 6v6 live service, without sacrificing match fairness or quality measures. I'll tell you what, I've been playing against some idiots, so either my SR and my quick play SR is dropped in Overwatch 2 or something's up, because I'm not playing against GMs. While these positive indicators from last week's patch are great to see, we still have work to do. Yes, you do. We compared the death rate for each hero and role to their counterparts in the live game and identified a trend where both support and tank heroes are dying more frequently on average in the beta. While D.Va finds herself in unfamiliar territory as a solo tank, with players gradually adjusting their approach, will continue to Orisa has a completely new kit and playstyle, while D.Va finds herself unfamiliar territory as a solo tank with players gradually adjusting their approach. We'll continue to monitor and tune individual heroes as needed. Just because tanks are dying more frequently doesn't mean that's not bad. Sometimes that's how the game rolls. I don't think if tanks are dying like 5 to 8% more, that's a bad thing. While there is little difference at lower ranks, support heroes starting at high diamond and above saw the highest jump rate in return visits to the spawn room. So diamond and up increased death rates. At these ranks, the increased pressure of a more skilled tank or damage player on the backlines has seemingly become too much for even high SR support players to handle effectively as compared with the live game. The most significant difference was at Grandmaster, where the support role saw an increase of 15% in frequency of deaths when compared to live. So supports are dying 15% more often as compared to live. I don't know what to make of this data, because to me, death rates are more or less always going to be even. All this data tells me is that support players have a higher chance of getting picked off before the fight's over. Because let's face it, guys, it's going to be like 55% death rate almost all the time to 60%. Right? One team is going to die completely. And then the other team is like, well, who lives? Out of the 5 heroes, who lives? The supports are dying a little bit more than everyone else. Well, that makes sense. You have to kill the supports in Overwatch 2. If you don't kill the supports, the tank never dies. So, we're seeing an increase of death in supports, which means we see an increase of death of tanks. And the heroes that have mobility are usually the ones that survive, which is the DPS characters. Alright, look at that. The game's working as expected, and you've identified all of the trends and how they link together. So again, all of this data stuff is complete moot when people are like, oh, but DPS are living longer. That's a problem. And it's like, they have mobility. Of course they're going to fucking live longer. They're longer range. When half the team dies, they're the ones that leave. It doesn't fucking matter. I like data. At the same time, people use data to try to do too much with it, and it pisses me off. We know support players want additional tools and power to be more impactful in Overwatch 2. They are impactful. They just want funner mechanics. And the role remains our highest adjustment priority as the beta continues. Philosophically, we are also mindful of the dangers of mobility creep and believe it's imperative that support heroes can survive and be powerful even without mobility tools. Heroes like Lucio and Moira are demonstrations of the effectiveness of mobility in Overwatch 2. We've seen early indicators of a playstyle shift in the support community to favoring mobility and a strong ability to either disengage completely or face down flankers one-on-one. No shit. Remember when everyone said Moira sucked in Overwatch 1? And I was like, Fade's the best tool in the game. Like, if you live. No matter what, you live. You get out. And everyone's like, no, Moira's weak. She has no utility. I'm like, no, survivability is utility. She has mobility and survivability. No, Moira sucks. No utility. Oh, shit. Wait. If we focus on living, we become a really good support hero? Yes. The truth is, you can play Moira in Overwatch 1 and get a lot more use out of her. It's just that people think she sucks, when she's actually really strong. As we make balanced decisions on how or if to address this moving forward, we do so with a goal of ensuring that there is a diversity in design and abilities for the support role, and that effectiveness isn't determined solely by a hero's mobility potential. Well, so this needs to be a couple things. If they make all support heroes with a mobility and escape skill, kind of fucking dumb, right? And someone like me would never ever play a support like that, right? If I play a support, I want a support that fights. I don't want to have to worry about healing. Like, really, Brig is my ideal support hero as a player. I don't want to have to, like, heal people that often. I just want to go in, I want to fight, and I want everyone, like, I want the passive to do the role I don't want to do for me. That's why we have heroes like Lucio and Brig. We want AoE healers that are easy to play, that can focus on combat more, because we need a range of accessibility, not only from ease of use, but also from, like, playstyles. There should be the hardcore support. Cool, Mercy, great. There should be the hardcore, yeah, fuck you support, I don't really want to play it, like Zen or Brig. That's how you're going to get more people playing support. And not just adding more supports that do the same kind of shit. Sounds like mobility will getting nerfed? No. They're just saying, look, we understand that mobility support heroes are really strong because mobility is really strong. We want to give supports more tools, but we understand that mobility isn't for everyone. We don't want all heroes to have mobility, is what they're saying. And I think this is a very rational way to look at it. And they're just like, look, you're going to have some support heroes with mobility, and you're going to have some support heroes without mobility. The ones without, will give them some tools to fight people one-on-one, and the heroes with mobility, well, they got mobility, and that's it. So, more specific balance considerations. We're planning another balance patch this week. It's almost midnight. So, yeah, it's not coming out tonight. So, it's going to come out tomorrow. Unless by this week, they mean from Thursday to Thursday next week, in which case I work in other weeks. And they're going to be explaining the changes. But we also wanted to share our broader thoughts about some heroes that have been subjects of recent community discussion. Moira. Dr. O'Reilly, well, I don't know what her fucking name is. Facilities kit has translated well in the Immersion 5v5 meta. It was strong in 6v6, people just didn't understand. Moira continues to be a flexible pick with her self-heal and high mobility proving effectively at dealing with a more consistent push by flankers. Holy shit, guys, it's almost like she was designed to deal with flankers, and that's why she has a wide kind of AoE-like attack that heals her to deal with flankers, because Overwatch and Blizzard refused to nerf flankers in Overwatch 1. Just a guess, though. As a result, we haven't observed a meaningful change in win rate between live and beta, meaning that Moira stayed relatively stable in comparison to other support heroes. Cool. Conversely, we hear your feedback that Moira's current stability doesn't mean she should remain unexamined. As we consider potential changes, we have a goal of providing her with increased utility that feels impactful and increases her potential to be a playmaker, while also tempering the damaging and healing of Bionic Orb and Bionic Grasp to bring her more in line with other supports. So, her survivability is going to get nerfed. Bionic Orb and Bionic Grasp, something about them is going to get nerfed. But she's going to get some extra utility because of this. That's all it's saying. That's what they're going to do to her. Do people think she's doing too much damage? It's not that Moira's doing too much damage. It's that she's so survivable. Mercy. As any veteran Mercy player will tell you, the full potential of Mercy is not unlocked until you've learned the techniques that accompany her kit. Particularly the super jump. I just want to say this sentence is so fucking dumb. Why? One specific reason. Put any hero here and the statement stays true. I hate statements like this. That they're just always true no matter what, and it doesn't matter what you put in there, it's just always correct. It reminds me in martial arts when I learned Tai Chi, and they're like, oh, you gotta move slower and softer. And I'm like, yeah, but you could say that about the greatest man in the world doing this. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, okay, then it's fucking pointless to tell me, because you're always going to be correct. Right? It's like, you have too much stress in your life. Fix that. I could fucking tell anyone. I could tell the least stressful person in the world that they need less stress in their life, and they'd be like, Chro, you're right, I do. And I'd be like, yeah, I know, because it's just always going to be a true question. So they say, particularly the super jump. While there are many guides, also this is super jump in quotations because the technique is technically unnamed. It has no proper name, just a community name. While there are many guides and videos for those wanting to learn this method, it ultimately requires a complicated sequence of keystrokes and conditions that are not accessible or apparent to the average player. Internally, we have started testing improvements to Mercy's versatility, leading into the unintended consequence of player discovery. We want to take it a step further by making the ability to super jump more consistent for everyone, not just the players who know the not-so-secret technique. Mercy's mobility has already been a core part of her kit, and we will continue to look for ways to accentuate it and make it more accessible for everyone. So, super jump. Yes, it is not a thing in the game that's particularly told. It is a hidden technique, technically. Blizzard doesn't like this. Blizzard hates this stuff. The truth is, games fucking feast on this stuff. This is what has made all games great. The only reason rocket jumping exists is because of this with the rocket launcher, right? It was a bug that turned into a feature. That's what they're trying to do. The problem is when you turn a bug into a feature, you kind of lose its sexiness and you lose a lot of what it can do. So it's like, all right, so super jump is going to become an ability. I'll just tell you that right now, guys. It's going to become an ability. Maybe it's going to be like Baptiste, where you crouch first and then you get the super jump at any point in time. Now everyone can do it. Oh, it's an established technique. It's just a button. But we don't know how that's going to interact with other things. Because it's just an abuse of the physics of Overwatch, a lot of wacky things can happen to it. When you make it a specific ability and you codify it, maybe it doesn't happen anymore, like in very particular situations. I understand why they're doing it. I don't agree with it. But understand when you guys saw my other video about accessibility, and that is the key, and I stress this, accessibility is first and foremost the biggest and strongest factor for everything in Overwatch. It doesn't matter what happens in the game, if something becomes less accessible or could be more accessible, it will be changed, because that is Overwatch's fundamental core belief and idea. So, I get this, I understand it, I love bugs that are features. Fucking keep it in the game. Fucking do the tutorial and just have people do Mercy with this. Now from what everyone wants my opinion on. Well, some people want my opinion. Some people don't care. Junkrat and Symmetra. Alongside Moira and Mercy, we also want to acknowledge the growing conversations around Junkrat and Symmetra. Both heroes excel at shield breakers. Or excelled as shield breakers. This is the dumbest... This is fucking wrong. Anyone that listening to me, it is wrong. Blizzard doesn't understand their game. This is wrong. We'll go into it in a little bit. I'm getting aggravated just talking about it. I'll continue, and then we're going to get into a lot of DPS numbers and a lot of boring stuff, but we're going to get into it. And the shift to a single tank composition has made both heroes feel slightly out of place in the emerging meta. That's actually not the issue. Junkrat continues to present interesting design questions. We've considered increasing frag launcher's projectile speed. I've always said no to this. However, we found that by doing so, we risk making his signature weapon feel more like a rocket launcher. Instead, we're exploring ways to better reward direct hits in form of skill expression. Oh! They're going to do the 150 damage where you become useless after 19 meters. Oh! That's what they're going to do. He's going to become a shitty Reaper. Guarantee it. Blizzard will never buff Junkrat without taking something away. Ever. If that happens, holy shit, I will be surprised. They still haven't fixed the bug with Trap. Trap is still 33% less duration. It still doesn't have the 20 extra damage they said it has. They don't give a fuck about Junkrat. Now, I'm with them about not increasing his projectile speed.
My genius is finally recognized.
What could they do, Chro? What would you do? Trap always active. That means I throw it at someone, it sticks to them, lasts for 3 seconds. Trap lasts until they get out of it, no matter what. And if it breaks... Oh, sorry, let me put it this. Trap lasts 3 seconds. If you get out of Trap within the 3 seconds, you take that initial damage again, so do double damage. So if a 200 hit point hero jumps into Trap, takes 100 damage, they run out of Trap range, and take another 100 because they broke it. This means you can concussive mine something, force them to break the Trap, deal extra damage, they die. Wonderful. Trap now, it's interesting that you can deal with it. It has synergies, it does other stuff. Great. I would love it if Trap was always active and it could actually block projectiles and shots. So if someone's trying to headshot me, I can throw my Trap in the way. Trap takes the shot. Sweet. How about lower the cooldown? 10-second ability. Worst 10-second ability in the game. Straight up worst ability in the game. It doesn't work when someone jumps over it. Doesn't slow down Hammond or Lucio. It doesn't even stop them from getting on a ball or using speed boost. Anything like that. They could deal with Trap. You could make concussive mine better. Make it disable passes for 2 seconds. Lower the damage to 80. Make the AoE bigger. Make it disable passes for 3 to 4 seconds. You have a fucking weapon that isn't about damage. It's about setting up your primary. Make everything about Junkrat's kit set up his primary. Or how about this? Any damage Junkrat gives, you take 25% extra damage after the next shot. So you reward consistency. If I hit you with one shot, it's 120 damage. The next one is 25% plus that, so like 140 damage. Hit you again, 140 plus 25%. So I do like 160, 170 damage. This way, Junkrat can shred tanks still and the bigger targets if you can hit him, because he's the most inconsistent hero in the game. Junkrat's consistency should be more rewarded than every other hero in the game, because it's more about skill. And I know people are going to laugh about this, but Junkrat's the only hero where if you're at a specific range, people can actively dodge it. Right? If I'm a Widow, it's completely on me. If I miss, I miss. That's my fault. If I miss as a Junkrat, well, if you're outside 15, 20 meters, then a person with quick reflexes can always dodge your shot. So, someone should be rewarded with hitting something that other people can actively dodge. There's a lot you could do. I am so terrified they're going to do the 150 damage, fall off after 15 meters, which makes them fucking useless after 20 meters. 20 meters happens like this in Overwatch. Most attacks and defenses where you see are 25 meters or longer. A good example of this would be Eichenwald Point 2. If you're on top of the castle, not the tall part, just the normal castle, and you're shooting on the ground, that's 20 meters. That's max. That would be, a nerf for Junkrat if they did that change. Maybe they'll make direct hits slow. Maybe they'll make direct hits start them on fire and take damage over time. There's a lot to say. I'm going to read the sim part first, and then we're going to go over damage numbers and say why Junkrat isn't a shield breaker. We agree with community feedback that reduction of shields being thrown about makes Symmetra's photon projector harder to get value from. At the same time, Symmetra is suffering from increased overlap with heroes like Mei, who possess better tools for close quarter survivability. While these heroes aren't our current focus, they're on our radar for future adjustments and continued monitoring. Hey guys, these heroes suck? Fuck them. Maybe fuck them for like 3 months or something. Maybe we'll get to them. By the way, remember when Tyre used to be able to detonate and you'd instantly get control? No, we're not going to do that. I know that was 5 years ago, but like we're still working on that, guys. So it really sucks. They just kind of shit in our face. They just say, yeah, you guys, these heroes suck. Tough luck. They sucked in Overwatch 1. They, believe it or not, guess what, guys? They sucked in Overwatch 2. Good for you. So it's a little disheartening. They could easily do something. They could be like, hey, Junkrat does 30 extra damage. We're going to actually get his real fix in later, but we just increase his damage because he is weak. Alright, you ready for some boring stuff? Guess what, motherfucker? I got numbers. I got fucking numbers for you. So, this is a little spreadsheet I made, and all these numbers aren't updated. I didn't put everything in Overwatch 2 terms, but I did some. This is every hero with their damage, the clip size, fire rate, reload, DPS with reload, and DPS without reload. So the first thing I want to do is actually want to filter. I haven't used... Alright, filtered. So, if we go by DPS with reloading, This is actually one of the funniest things that I've noticed about Bastion. In Overwatch 1, when Bastion was in minigun form or sentry mode, his DPS without reloading was 500. So before Bastion actually ran out of ammo and had to reload, he could do 500 DPS. So when you account for reload, because the reload takes 2.1 seconds, he did 400 damage a second. Right? Because you deal all this damage, reload, do all the damage again. I think it is hilarious that they just go, yeah, it was kind of strong back then, but let's lower the damage, make it on a cooldown, and you know what? Like, it was strong, but his damage numbers before with reload was great. In Overwatch 2, he does 400 damage a second, and since he doesn't reload, it's 400 damage a second. He is king of damage without reloading. After Bastion, we got a slight drop-off with reloading. It's actually Sim. Right? So Blizzard was somewhat correct that when Sim gets charged up, she has some of the most DPS in Overwatch. Just completely. Because she doesn't have to reload because she's charging up the shields, but even if you're just hitting someone normal, once you get charged up to 177 damage a second, actually it's 180, the 177 is because I account for reload in this one. She does a lot of damage. Next, Reaper. Of course, right? And this is Overwatch 1 Reaper at 120 damage a shot, 0.5 fire rate, 175 damage. He does have fall off at 10 meters, but still no Junkrat. Zarya max charge, she does 170 damage, it's 167 here because of the reload. Now, you'll see it's Junkrat. Oh, but it's Junkrat max. This is actually the 150 damage Junkrat. So this is the experimental card they tried. This is where Junkrat would be at. We are not that Junkrat. Next, Reaper. Overwatch 2, because he got a nerf. He does 157 damage DPS. The funny thing about Reaper in Overwatch 2, Reaper in Overwatch 2 does more damage to armor than Reaper in Overwatch 1. Overwatch 1 Reaper does... Oh my god, I'm sorry if I pulled these numbers out of my ass, but I'm going way back. Reaper, 120 damage, each bullet... He has 20 pellets. Each does 6 damage, so it gets reduced in half. So he does 60 damage. In Overwatch 1 against armor. In Overwatch 2, Reaper does 108 damage, but it gets reduced by 30%, and that's something like 75 damage. So he actually does 15 extra damage a shot against armor in Overwatch 2. So, while Reaper does lose some damage, he's still way high up there on the burst damage. Again, he does lose damage after 10 meters. This is probably, and clip size by 1,000 just means unlimited. This is the funniest thing I can say about Overwatch. D.Va has some of the highest burst damage in the game. This isn't counting headshots. She does 140 damage a second. What is hilarious about this to me is that fall off, what is it? It goes down to 30%, I believe. She still does like 60 DPS, 60, 70 DPS, even at max fall off. So when you're talking about shield break, D.Va's actually really good at it, even when she's at max distance. Like, as long as the pellets are hitting like a Winston bubbler or something, she can actually still do a significant chunk of damage. Right? Because, I mean, we're talking 80 damage a second, which adds up pretty quickly, especially when you have no reload and you're like, well, I'm not doing anything else, might as well shoot at this. And so that really, against heroes, obviously it not a big deal, but against shields, you can easily add 400 or 500 damage very quickly over the course of 4 or 5 seconds. Now we have Junkrat, and you'll notice, look at the damage drop off. We go from like 140s, 150s down to 120s. This is Junkrat live. He does 120, etc., etc. His DPS is actually 126, so not that high, right? Everyone we've talked about is actually like 25, 30 or higher than this. And this is where almost all the DPSers sit. From 100 to 120 DPS. At this rate, there is no shield breaker advantage. The main thing Junkrat has is he doesn't have fall off, but it's such a slow projectile, tanks drop their shields and just walk around it. Really, like outside of Orisa shield in Overwatch 1 and Winston Bubble, Sigma's, Reinhardt's, everyone's just dropping their fucking shield and walking around your shit. It's only 126. And if you look at Hanzo, he's I believe this is correct, he's at 100 DPS. The difference between 100 and 120 DPS, obviously, number's really easy, 26% more damage. In reality, what this means is usually after 6 or 7 seconds, it's usually like 1 or 2 more shots and they've evened it up, right? So if I do 100 damage, if we go over like 5-6 seconds, we're looking at 600 damage or so, 600-700 damage. All right, you get 1 more shot in, bam. All the damage discrepancies broken even. And in fact, because of when reloads happen, there are times when heroes do more shield damage than Junkrat. So a good example of this would be Echo. Echo destroys, because it's around, Winston's shield is 800 damage in Overwatch 2. Because of the way Echo's damage lines up, I think it's a full, I think it's 2 clips. Hold on. It's 51 per shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 clip for her. She does 3 shots a second with 12 ammo. So. Oh, sorry. So in 1 second, she's 100. That 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. In 4 seconds, she does 600 damage and then reloads. So that puts her up to 5.5. That's another second. So we're at 5.5 and then 1 shot. Let's just say half a second. So we're at 7 seconds. Was that correct? If I did my math correct? For her to break Winston's bubble. The funny thing about Junkrat is that he does 120 damage every 0.6 seconds. So at 5, that's 600 damage. Really easy. And then 0.65 times 5, 3.25. Plus 1.5. All right. So he has to get 2 more shots off because he goes 600 to 720 and 840. So plus, what is that? 1.3? So this is Junkrat's time to destroy Winston's bubble. 6 seconds. Echo's was 7 seconds. If Echo is not a shield specialist and Junkrat is, this is complete bullshit. To me, if you told me someone was a shield specialist, anti-shield specialist, it should be fucking dead in half the time, if not a quarter of the time. Right? Like, think about if we treated Widow this way, or Reaper this way, or any hero that excels at one particular area of combat. If we said, hey, Widow is a long-range specialist, but then let's say Widow only gets a 20% bonus at range, right? So instead of getting a headshot doing 300 damage, let's say she just gets 1.5 times damage. She goes up to 180. And you'd be like, well, she's not a long-range specialist anymore. People just get shot, they close the distance, and they deal with it. I'd be like, yeah, no shit. Just a 20% advantage is not something enough to call it a specialist. McCree is at 100 DPS, and just the numbers-wise with reloading, I'm pretty sure it's like 8 seconds. And at that time, we're considering 6 seconds for Junkrat to destroy something, 8 seconds for McCree. Now, I know, of course, there's fall-off damage, but you look at Soldier, 35-meter fall-off, 20 damage Soldier, he does... I actually don't have 20 damage Soldier here. 18 damage Soldier does 111, and at 20, he does 124 DPS. So he is right up there with Junkrat. He's actually 2 less DPS. So right now, in Overwatch 1, Soldier deals 2 less DPS than Junkrat. Just let everyone sink that in. At 35 meters, Soldier's effectively the same shield break as a Junkrat. So, McCree and Soldier, massively higher hit percentage, right? Like, massively. Can't dodge it. It's going to hit. It always does the same damage. Sure, there's some fall off with McCree, but Soldier, most times we're fighting, not really any fall off. They're not shield specialists. There is no shield specialist. The closest thing to a shield specialist would be Sim, but she only has what is Sim's range? It's something stupidly low, like 12 meters. But yes, so Soldier and Junkrat equal on shield break. And people are like, well, what about abilities? There's a reason why I didn't do abilities in this sheet. 1, I'm a Junkrat player. So you're like, oh, use your abilities. That's your DPS. That's your true DPS. And I would say, ha ha ha, if I have to use 2 mines against someone to kill them, the next person that sees me, I die. That's it. Straight up. In Overwatch 2, even in Overwatch 1, if there is a DPS hero or a tank, hell, fucking even a support, that finds you and you have no mines, they can kill you. They have the advantage in almost every situation. Yes, I know Junkrat has a really strong projectile, and there's like, oh, just get 100% hit rate with it. Harder than it seems. Most supports, definitely most DPS, have hit scans, and they're going to burst you down before you can get 2 shots off. McCree will kill you before you can actually shoot that second shot. Probably going to kill you before that first shot actually lands. Same thing with Soldier. So I try to omit abilities. And even if I did put in abilities, I'm just going to say this. I could skew the numbers and fuck them anyways. Not like cheating, but I can go, oh, well, I'm going to do damage over 10 minutes. And since Soldier has a 6-second cooldown on his Helix, and Junkrat has 8-second cooldown on mine, that 2-second window is going to compound after, I think it's like after 30 seconds, Soldier starts getting the DPS advantage. Right? Because he has to wait 6 seconds, does an extra 120, while Junkrat has to wait 8. But Junkrat has 2 concussive mines. Too bad they don't recharge at the same time. It means Junkrat goes up by 120 damage on the first second. But as Soldier keeps on getting lower and lower cooldowns with 6 seconds, he's going to make up that over time. And I'd be like, oh, over 10 minutes, Soldier actually does way more DPS than Junkrat. So abilities are a bit skewed, and so I just omit them. Also, I don't like the idea of having to use abilities to destroy shields, because the fuck, like you're just going to get that shield back in 3 seconds. Yeah, it's the whole thing about Junkrat being a shield break is absolute bullshit. And if you want to see people's numbers, it goes down pretty low. Moira actually really low. Brig, Moira, Winston, Sim with no charge, pretty low DPS. Zarya, Mouse 2, even when max, pretty low damage, obviously. But yeah, around here, this is just where DPS heroes hang. And if people really wanted to understand why tanks got melted so fast in Overwatch 1, it's right here. It's right there. Guys, everyone does 100 DPS in Overwatch. More or less. Even the fucking supports. Maybe not the really low supports. But like, yeah, Mercy does 74 damage. It's funny, she does the same as as Ash with reloading. Because Ash gets major DPS loss when you have to reload the whole clip. Yeah, I mean, heroes just do a lot of damage. And when you have 6 of them and they're hitting the same hero, that's 600 DPS. You're dead. So, if anyone wants to say why 5v5, doesn't work, 5v5 was needed because you had to take out a hero just so people live more. Is this because of the perception of him being a shield breaker stems when he was first released? It's because people are dumb. Junkrat wasn't a shield breaker when he was first released. He wasn't. Soldier did more damage than Junkrat. Right? Junkrat only had a single mine back then. And he did self-damage. Soldier always had a helix, always did, well, not always, but at the start he did 20 damage a shot. So the whole concept of Junkrat being a shield break, complete bullshit. Now I know people want to be like, oh, what about damage without reloading? Here's the really funny part. Reaper without reloading has pretty much one of the highest DPS at 240. Old Tracer, guess what? Still has high DPS at 240. New Tracer, this is Junkrat at 150 damage, the theoretical Junkrat. Still less burst damage than a Tracer. And he can't headshot. Reaper in Overwatch 2, 216. Tracer in Overwatch 2 has 200. Eventually we get to Junkrat with his primary DPS of 185 without reloading. He is still below Tracer and Reaper and Bastion, and technically Doomfist in Overwatch 1. People don't realize how fast Doomfist damage adds up. It's actually his reload. He's actually hit by reload the hardest. At minus 133 damage a second when accounting for reload. So there are some points. Junkrat also has the ability to bank shots behind shields too, though. So the shield break isn't just busting the extra shield, but also killing the tank it holds. Yes, but tanks can get healed, and since the shield doesn't get broken down, no one else can follow up on that damage, right? So the shield's fine, or the hero's fine. And also, remember, this is about this take that Junkrat is a shield specialist. You can ricochet and still hit him. Also a good point. Try that in a real game. You'll get some damage off. But are you getting shield specialist damage off? No. Are you giving away your position so someone can flank you and kill you? Yes. There's a lot of stuff in theory that this could happen with, and you could be like, oh, well, Junkrat can keep on pressure from all these different angles. Yeah, so can a Soldier. So can a Reaper. What Junkrat has to do trick shots and inconsistently hit these targets, I don't consider him a shield specialist because of that. Now, if Junkrat did triple damage to shields and killed him in 2 to 3 seconds, yes. But that's like me thinking, like, a specialist is something that excels immensely at it. It's not just a little advantage here or there. It's immense. So, if Junkrat did 50%, 100% bonus damage against shields, now we're talking, right? If he can half clip a shield, yes. And the biggest thing I can say for why Junkrat isn't a shield breaker, or sim, really, when double shield was at its worst, did anyone pick those heroes? No. No, they didn't. Shields can be dropped. Shields regen really fast. Junkrat can't burst them down. Junkrat wasn't used against goats. Junkrats wasn't used against double shield. Empirical evidence tells us when a team is rushing at you with shields, don't pick Junkrat. Don't. Double shield just push people to ignore shields, not break them. Yep. You go around those shields. And people are like, oh, but you can shoot around a shield with Junkrat. Yeah, but I can sprint around him with Soldier. I can teleport through them with Reaper. Right? There's a lot of other things you can do. Most people can deal with shield in some sort of way. What about Chro? We got lucky with that one. 5 supports and a Junkrat. Honestly, we shouldn't have won that game. So, while people, and it's funny, when I started this stream out, or this discussion out, I was like, yeah, fuck data. I hate people that go based on data. And I sit here with a fucking spreadsheet and lecture you people about data. Junkrat isn't as good as you think he is, and because everyone thinks he's stronger than he is, he gets constantly shit on. And until that actually changes, and no one wants, here's the thing, no one wants to be a good designer and be like, oh yeah, all heroes are viable. All heroes should be treated equally. People are like, no, fuck Junkrat, don't want him in my game. Hope he's nerfed. I'll keep on telling everyone he's the strongest hero in the world. We saw that with your Overwatch. Literally, the guy's lying for money to get clicks from people, right? He's giving their opinion. He's like, oh yeah, look, everyone hates Junkrat. Yeah, fuck Junkrat. Woo, yeah, he's really strong. Don't buff him. And everyone's just, oh yeah, fuck you, buddy. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous the amount of misinformation in this community and how people are praised for it. When I can sit here with numbers and just be like, look, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. So that's it. There's nothing else here. You want my thoughts on this? I kind of gave my thoughts on this. Them going based off this data is really dumb. Orisa and Diva are still really strong heroes. It's funny that supports die. Get good supports. Actually, when supports get good, they die 50% more than diamonds. They want to add something fun for Moira at the cost of self-sufficiency. I'm fine with that. They want to codify Mercy's secret technique. I'm okay with that. I would rather let them keep it and then just do something else or tell people how to do it. Also, fuck Junkrat and Symmetra. Wonderful. I mean, all the ideas talked about here, I mean, at least they're talking to us. They're not terrible ideas. They are coming from someplace. Now that someplace is wrong. But what can you do?